Sáng thăm nó sáng thăm đây à?
Bây giờ cứ thầm. Thầm cả.
Dạ. Lúc start up lagi.
Ha. Am tong lo thok pian ko. Mai jing thai.
Mahal jing tu. Anti sing. Okay.
Am ya mai thầm ko.
Ini dia tu kan. Không biết là sẽ ra ba. Ai terus thế này. Hani internet terus. Hani internet terus. Udah speaker ngang cái si rotate tau ya gitu nih cuma nam. Rotate tau kata rotate tau ya tam. Si YouTube ke noje. Rotate tau ya tam nih. Ayo, không ai nữa. Nên, chỉ cho cái lại cái tàu gì nào, sẽ tiếng hơi thở thôi kìa. Em tổ tổ ya, em tổ tổ ya. Em tổ số. Nó cái ram tổ luôn. Ram tổ nó tộc tộc cái milik ti. Sini keragin lo. अच्छा. Microphone di. Halo. Lan ko ron ro. Aure. Miu. Halo. Apa jera? Halo. Namanya tenang je minuta. Online sih kenapa? Kalau saya sambil lekok. Cek. Link kemarin share dong. Yang saya dulu saja. Saya tahu berapa masuk dong itu. Masuk tahu berapa. Masuk dong besar. Enggak. Visit बंद कर दीजिए. YouTube को visit follow. Hello, good morning everyone. Can you please settle down? I will request Professor Sadhana, Staff Master, Dr. Professor Karama Knowledge, Kindly Language, Rajesh Shina, please to take the dais. Apa? Coba sini. Yeah, please settle down. Sir, sorry, sir. Sir, we'll sit here. We'll sit here down. Sit on the, okay, here also, then it's fine. Settle down here. Amar sir, please come on the dais. Check.
Hello.
Professor Sadhana is on the dais.
Pahil lang. Pahil lang kan hena. Punna janur ni.
Satu bro. Kau present lah.
Mai kan janur da harag. No, sida tum camera ada so bro.
And other speakers, we will have them online.
Yes.
Not only have you shared the link to them, okay. Now, sir, can you please click on that so that we can have them on?
Block
Can you join that link that you
Blok
have
anu
shared?
tawa.
Okay.
Sir, only also please inform them that we are starting so that they can come. Okay. Yeah. So we'll start. I'll just introduce myself. My name is Nongren Kong. I'm based in Delhi. I'm from Manipur. And
Block to pun tu.
I've been told to do both the job of the announcement as well as to give the welcome remark. So I'll start quickly with a very short, brief welcome remark. We'll keep this slightly informal, but Professor Ahmad kindly agree to moderate the session. First of all, it gives me immense pleasure to welcome all of you in this gathering on the idea of Northeast. On behalf of the diaspora, Manipuri diaspora who are based in Delhi NCR, I extend a warm welcome to all participants, eminent speakers and well-wishers who have come today for this gathering. It's a very small, informal gathering. It's a small, informal gathering. So, we are truly privileged to have such eminent speakers, Professor Sadhana, Suhas Professor Amarjit, Noni, and we have, by the way, 5 of them joining online. Rajiv Bhattacharya, Dr. Sanjit Gupta, Dr. Bindu Ranjan, the names that you have on your table. So I'll just give you a very brief context how I came to this picture when Dr. Noni approached some of us here in Delhi with this idea of holding this conclave on the idea of Northeast. We were very excited and we said, it's an opportunity for us, people who are laymen, who are not experts in this subject, to be able to contribute in such a discussion. So that's how the idea started, and eventually when this idea built up, and Udan Noni and others gave this name of eminent speaker, then we thought whether we'll be able to hold this. But thank you, sir, thank you all of you for having taken out time, and some of you have traveled out of Delhi. Thank you so much for that. I'll just share 2 very simple examples on my understanding of the idea of Northeast. Sir, everyone, I have stayed out of my hometown for some 30 odd years. So during my school days, college days, we used to travel via train, and our destination, the first destination towards Northeast used to be Guwahati railway station. So the moment we travel from Gujarat, we travel from different parts of the country, but when we are about to reach Northeast, the moment, we used to take the Brahmaputra train and the Northeast Express. So all these transport people who have this bus, they will hop onto the train and they'll start saying, Imphal or Dimapur. That's the first time that you get a sense of being at home, being comfortable, being secure. Although we say we're all Indians, we all are Indians, but we do have a sense of insecurity, a sense of feeling that perhaps we are being discriminated. That people from other parts of the country look to us in a different way. Hello.
Yeah, it's audible.
It's audible. Okay, I'm loud and fine. So we had this feeling that perhaps although we are all from this country, we are looked differently, our outlook towards life, our food habits, so on and so forth. And we also face racial discrimination at different point of time in different ways. But the moment we reached Guwahati, we felt safe, we felt secure. And that's the idea of Northeast. To be, if you look at it, although the moment you reach Guwahati, I don't know the language. It's not that I have my friends and relatives staying in Guwahati who will give me that security, so on and so forth. But I do have the feeling that once I reach Northeast, once I reach Guwahati, I will not be discriminated upon. People will understand my perspective. I will not be exploited. So I was, in fact, yesterday I had time to spend some time with Sajid sir, and I was explaining to him that अगर Guwahati में कोई मुझे धक्का भी देते ना ट्रेन से, मैं मुझे भरोसा है मैं घर पहुंच जाऊंगा. That's the kind of confidence, and that's in a very simple way the spirit of Northeast. Similarly, when we are in Delhi or when we are in different parts of the country, we all come together. Entire Northeast come together. When we are, when we have to face or explain certain things about our culture, about our food, about our outlook on life. Unfortunately, this same solidarity, camaraderie, or understanding that we have seems to disappear when we go back home. And I'll just give you a very nice example. This crisis that we are seeing in Northeast, particularly Manipur, I believe it's a manifestation of a very old unresolved issues around not understanding each other, so on and so forth. So without going too much into it, I will, just point to one development, the recent announcement by Conrad Sama and Pradeep Dev Verma regarding the formation of a political platform for the Northeast. I think this is a direction, to which direction the wind is blowing. All of these political parties have their standalone state aspirations, they have a different political stance. However, they also see that there is a common thread running in the Northeast. Otherwise, they will not form a political party without having a common platform. So I believe that's, that's the wind, the direction the wind is flowing. I think this is the perfect time to hold this kind of a conference. Once again, I thank each one of you to be able to agree to come and speak on this, and all the participants from Delhi, NCR to have joined us. I look forward to this discussion. That's how I will end my welcome speech. And since I'm also playing the role of an announcer, I will now call upon Dr. Ramban Dhoni to give a keynote speech. You can do from here. Thank you.
Good morning. Good morning, everyone, and thank you very much, our members from the diaspora, particularly from Tripura, Assam, and Manipur, for agreeing to this idea that we have to start to talk to each other. We have seen a lot of violence, we have seen a lot of misunderstanding, and we almost feel that we are gradually fragmenting in terms of identities and ethnicities. Now, when we are in that situation, one is forced to think what are the ways in which we can come together in a non-sectarian, in a non-ethnic, and in a more secular manner. So these three terms are important. We wanted it to be a very non-sectarian, we wanted it to be very secular, and we wanted it to be a kind of a democratic process where concerns can be raised and addressed. And that should happen at the level of India's Northeast region. Because we have grounds on which we can stand together and talk to each other. Instead of always relying on our enclaves, we call it enclaves, right? So we can go beyond those enclaves and try to understand each other, because self is always defined in relation to the other, and that kind of perspective becomes very eminent if you look at the situation in India's northeastern region. And moreover, as I'm giving a keynote kind of presentation here, I think our initiative is absolutely non-electoral. It should be very clear, because what we're doing is basically trying to reach out and have an academic engagement and where the entrepreneurs can come together, because it is also about the political economy of the region. Because the region cannot sustain without a viable economic process. So having said these kind of issues, the North academics and the entrepreneurs and the diaspora, particularly from the northeastern region, will require and they should begin to talk to each other. This initiative is not organized by any forum, not organized by any organization, but some like-minded members from the region who is just supposing that should not really have a kind of a collective platform, particularly an academic platform, where we can begin to write and talk about. So the idea of the conclave is to come with an open-ended mind, with not any fixated agenda. It would be wrong if I say that these are the agenda that we want to push through in this conclave, because we want this conclave to be much more open-ended, because we want it to be as a fresh and a new initiative where anybody can say anything, in fact. And in that process, we want to see that we want to grow in a democratic manner where the concerns can be addressed. Having said this, as I say that we do not have any fixed agenda, it is an initiative, it is an introduction of the region, and it is very, very fortunate that we have some eminent and well-established experience, senior professors, scholars from the region. Their participation in the process is a very good opportunity because it can easily link up the generations who are in the 60s, who are in the 20s, who are in the 30s and 40s. Now that opportunity is before you, and we're very happy that some of the young minds are here from states like Mizoram, Tripura, Assam, Manipur, Arunachal, and Nagaland. And these are, I think, these are good trains for us. Young minds coming and trying to talk to each other, connecting to the older generation. So I think as a part of the keynote, what we want to do today is, or what we expect is to come with some basic understanding of issues that we confront in the region and try to see whether there is a connection of these concerns. So each speaker will be speaking on different issues, but we also want to see whether there can be a connection, whether there can be an intersection, which philosophers would say that self is always to be defined in an intersectional way. You cannot remain alone all the time because that is not how human civilization progress. So these are the concerns. And let me come to a very brief expectation on the outcome that we want to have towards the end. And this is just a proposal for all of us to think through. For instance, in our circulation, we wrote something about deliverables or possible outcomes. So we wanted to make this coming together of intellectuals and scholars, entrepreneurs, to understand the region first and then to arrive at a conclusion or at an understanding where we would say we will try to understand more and write more, think more, meet again and again and gradually create an academic movement, and that can finally unite people, that can finally influence policymakers, and that can democratize our relationship. It is going to be a bigger attempt to generate academic and social interaction amongst the communities in the region. And we expect that communities will gradually open up to talk to each other and come out of the enclave that I mentioned about. So these enclaves are sometimes very romantic, but these enclaves are also sometimes very divisive in nature, which can actually fragment your solidarity. And we don't want our solidarity to be fragmented in the politics of enclaving each other as self-excluded self. Having said this, let me come to the expectations that we propose here. We're just proposing. You may disagree or agree, and you may add also. Now, some expected deliverables are to start.
Your mic is not properly.
Hello? Hello? Is it working?
No, it's blue.
Yeah. Oh, this is this is a broadcast facility outside of people from other regions also watching us. So now let me come briefly to the expected outcomes for the day. First of all, we want to see if we can begin to resolve to meet at least quarterly online. Every 3 months or 4 months, we set a meeting and have an online discussion, which is going to be not costing anything. Just give some of the time and then talk to each other and then replan what can be the next thing. And we want to launch a website. Fortunately, the small cost involved in running a website shall be borne by some of our sympathizers. They're ready to kind of help us in sustaining the website. And in that website, we want to propose that our communities or our people from the region begin to write what they think about our region and what is the way forward. That kind of small commentaries. If you want them to write a research paper, it will take so much of time. It's not easy. But you can write 500, 1,000 words, and that's not a big problem. That is the second proposition that we have. The third proposition we have is, can we think about a newsletter, online newsletter, on the idea of knowledge? So our website probably will publish that newsletter and it will be circulated widely. That is the third one. The fourth proposition that we expect to discuss today, can we also think about at least one physical meeting in a year? And it should be a bit pre-planned so that the traveling costs can become very affordable. Maybe we can do on a rotation basis. Sometimes in Delhi, sometimes in Guwahati, Imphal, Agartala, Kohima, and all that. Now we want this process to be self-funded or self-funded so that it can sustain in the longer way. But of course, our diaspora members who are willing to support the people in the region, they are always ready to extend at least some logistic support, which is our advantage as well. If we genuinely grow up, probably I think our diaspora members settled across the world, they probably will also support us. So that is also one possibility where we can sustain our initiative through their logistic support. But on the ground, what is required is that people coming from the region will have to at least extend their experiences, their ability to articulate issues, and their ability to write should be congregated and be completely used and processed through a platform like the one that we are proposing. So I think these are the concerns and the proposals we have, and it is very fortunate that some of our colleagues and senior professors and journalists, researchers, students, scholars, and entrepreneurs based in Delhi are coming to kind of agree to these proposals as of today, as of now. What is required is that we probably have to think more about formalizing the initiative and to sustain it. With these words, I think we shall have a very productive day. We shall talk about the possibilities. As you see, the topics are already given in the chart. And I thank the organizers. We actually don't have any organizer, but this is simply an initiative. And the diaspora must be given this credit for initiating at least to host us from different regions, different states, and have a common platform. And this is a good beginning. I think with this, I thank you, organizers again, the people who are initiating this process. Thank you very much.
Sir, thank you. Can you please ask people to join online? There was some we have joined, but others have not joined us yet.
Okay, I think let's initiate with the chairperson.
Yeah.
And the chairperson can allot the speakers. I think now it's time. We will handle it outside.
Okay.
Okay. Thank you very much, and good morning to all the participants here. Before we proceed with the discussion, I thought that let us do a round of introduction, very brief introduction. So, may I request if you can start from this side? Please introduce yourself, just in 1-2 sentences, and just please start. Your name and your affiliation, whatever.
My name is Shanda Aramam. I come from Manipur. I'm based in Delhi for the past 7 years. I have completed my master's from Department of English and I'm trying to do my research.
Thank you. Thank you.
Hello everyone, my name is Fiona and I'm currently pursuing my master in history from you.
Next.
Hi everyone, this is Kritika Meshram, and then I'm from Japan in fact, and having a privilege to attend this today, and I'm representing UP, Delhi, and I'm pursuing basically, peace and proposals, activities.
Thank you.
My name is Premji and I'm from Manipur.
Thank you.
My name is Dr. N. Meitei. I am residing in Delhi since last 18 years and I am working here as a consultant. Thank you.
I'm Colonel Kishore. For those who have not seen me, retired from Army, and I'm presently, it's okay, my voice is not so low. So, presently I'm taking classes for Army officers at United Services Institute of Teaching.
Thank you, sir.
My name is Mohit Chandra. I am in Delhi from the last 21 years, and I run my own company in Delhi from last 21 years.
Thank you, sir. Thank you.
Good morning everyone. So my name is George Chakma. I'm from Tripura and I'm a doctoral candidate in JNU doing PhD in international politics. I'm also working as a teaching fellow in Ashoka.
Good.
Hello everyone, so my name is Subhamangal Chakma, senior PhD scholar from Center for Political Studies, Jawaharlal University, and I'm also teaching faculty in DU.
Thank you.
I'm Priyanka Kechmiu, I'm from Manipur, and I'm PhD pass out from CTS in JNU, and right now I'm working as a research associate in one of the institutes based in Delhi.
My name is Nauja. I'm from Manipur and I'm currently pursuing PhD in JNU.
Yes, thank you.
My name is Meitei Heritage. I've been in Delhi for the last 4 years and I'm currently associated with the media house based in Delhi.
Thank you.
Yeah, my name is Komba. I work for a corporate I'm a former journalist. Thank you.
Hello everyone, my name is Rajiv Sinha. I come from Tripura, where I was born. I currently live in Bangalore. Work with MSc, which is International and Mind Services. With you I have a session and share with you some of the findings that I have observed through the data from the development.
Thank you.
Hello everyone, my name is Shaheen and I am from Guwahati, Assam. But I have completed my Masters and MPhil from JNU School of Arts and Aesthetics. So I straddle the worlds of cultural studies, borderland, cinema and visual studies. I've been writing quite a lot over the last many years now. Hopefully you'll enjoy my session. Thank you.
Thank you.
That's
for formality's sake.
Okay, this is Arambam now. I'm Arambam Nani. I teach in DM University in Farm, and I'm part of this process.
Thank you.
I'm Sajal Nag. I'm a historian and a political scientist. I worked in many places. I retired from Assam University Silchar and currently in Assam Royal Global University as distinguished professor.
Thank you, sir. Thank you, sir. Please. Sorry.
Thank you. My name is Tejan Chakma. I am associated with Asian Center for Human Rights, and I am from Arunachal Pradesh.
Thank you. And sir.
And maximum number of people either Chakmas or Meiteis. It's a very good mention. My name is Suhas Chakma. I work with the Rights and Scholars Group.
Thank you, sir. Answer. And myself, I'm Professor Amarjit Singh. I'm from Jamia Islamia. And please introduce those who come. That's now. That's briefly.
Hi everyone, I am Meitei Heritage. I'm currently studying in IT college. I take courses of science and computer. Hello everyone, I am Francine Mombam. I am currently pursuing an English degree in Zacchaeus in Delhi College.
So it's all done.
We have.
Okay.
It's a positive please. We are just in the round introduction.
Hello everyone, I'm Kaushik Dekka. I work for India Today magazine. Thank you.
Jimmy Dadia.
So now, once again, I welcome everyone. Today, it's really happy to see the initiative. Although, there are limitations, but this is just the beginning. And in terms of the number of people who are going to speak, also represents various parts of the northeast states of India. So that is very, very interesting. And just to, when we talk about the idea of northeast India, this is very, very timely intervention and very, very timely exercise, because the northeast states of India has different challenges, different difficulties. At the same time, there are also, there are also several common interests in the region. So this is where we need to look into, we need to study, and we need to discuss and debate the concerns of different communities and groups, and we also need to respect and regard the concerns. So this is what is very, very needed in today's, the Northeast context, because different communities, different aspirations. So therefore, now we need to discuss, debate, and respect the concerns of other communities. So this is very, very needed in this point of time. And without wasting much time, today I am very, very happy because I'm meeting Professor Sadhana sir. So I first met him in Ceylon, Nehu, somewhere in 1999. At that time I just came to Ceylon for my PhD. So I just got enrolled, and then there was a research methodology course. So I attended. So Sir was one of the speaker, and then the research methodology course. So very, very, so thank you, sir. And also I'm thankful to Sir Subhash Chakma, a very well-known person, and many of us are familiar with his work, and we met for many students and then people who are in academics. So we have been following his work, So I have been following his work for many number of years, and also our friend Noni is also here. He's also one of the very concerned citizen, I must say, that very active in his academic and other. And also I'm also thankful to Sahib, and so she is also very actively engaged in the issues of the Northeast, and also I'm thankful to so he is also, we expect to learn a lot from the presentations from the distinguished speaker. So without wasting much time, may I request Professor Sanjay. Please take the time, sir.
Yeah, they are able to see now.
Here we have 4, 5, other 3 to but they will speak for 6, 7. So, sir, yeah. Okay.
Because 10 is also very,
Yes.
Thanks, Professor Amarjit. Thanks to partners, organizers, for all the initiators, for thinking of me and getting me over here. And it kind of excites me to think that we are thinking of coming together. Because in Northeast India, I always say, Northeast India cannot be just an academic. It can be English, history, sociology, scientists, anything. But if you are coming from Northeast, you have to be an activist as well. Activist of Northeast India. We call it Northeast India activist. In other parts, you can be just a simple disassociate yourself with your society that you come from, your state. But in Northeast, you cannot afford to do that. So we are activists of Northeast India. In that sense, somewhere deep outside our academics, our professions, we are very deeply attached to the region. No way. He mentions the moment you reach you reach Kokrajhar and what you feel you've reached home. Even though reaching Manipur will take another 24 hours, for me I come from Shillong, it takes another 4 or 5 hours. So that is the kind of attachment we have. So I hope we go ahead and deliver the deliverables as Noni has spoken about. Noni has asked me to speak on history, interface, and the Northeastern region. So I have slowly, it did not give me much time to think about it, but then I thought, since I've been teaching and writing for the last 39 years, it should not be that difficult. I start with history, though this idea that I should talk about history as a historian comes from Noni. I immediately thought that, if I try to, recapitulate the entire history of North India from people who, that's what we study from student days till now, the development that place. It is all about history. It is the contest between history. It is, contest between mono history and multiple history. And then I thought, okay, now I'm in the comfort zone. So I'll try to speak on that. Now I just want to start with 2 definitions of history, and given by none other than Karl Marx, because I think this is what aptly explains history. First one says history does nothing. We are all familiar by that. I just want to reiterate. History does nothing. It possesses no immense wealth. It wages no battles. It is man, real living man, that does all that. That possesses and fights. History is not a person apart, using man as a means for his particular aims. History is nothing but the activity of man pursuing his aims. And then he follows, men make history, but they don't make it just as they please. They do make it under circumstances chosen by themselves, but under the circumstances directly encountered, given, and transmitted from the past. And this is what is the essence of history. This is the essence of all histories. Often for example, Northeast India, we often ignore geography. Geography does see Northeast India. We divide it in national borders and territories. But it will be very difficult to say where does Southeast Asia ends in Northeast India.
Where does East Asia ends? East Asia means China, Tibet, South Asia means Burma, Thailand, all these places. So all of them come and merge in Northeast India, the Northeast India. And when you try to delineate, no, this is Burma, this is China, then there is a problem. And that is why, geography, the moment you ignore geography and write history, and more so national history, you have a problem. You are going to have all the problems that we face. I'll explain it further. Northeast India has been conceptualized, right, you say right from the earliest time, as Asamudrana Himachal. Samudra is ocean and seas, we know, okay, the outside. But Asamudra starts with Himachala, that is Himalaya. But we have land, we have territory, we have people beyond Himalayas, or around Himalayas, adjoining Himalayas. And that imagination of Asamudra Himachala kind of directs us, and that is where a lot of other problems starts. That is why a lot of exclusion takes place. For example, I want to say that, the history that has been written to us, for us, the Indian history, I'm not talking about the modern history that has been being written in us, that has been given to us, was a Western history of Europe, which has been brought by the British and given to us, and we follow that model. And as a result, what happens? History of the colony, not just India, all colonies are written by colonialists, but they wrote it according to their understanding, their philosophy of history. If there is anyone in history, from history student, they realize that when we read the philosophy of history, there is anyone, and hardly anyone from Asia, all European. Right from Herodotus to Crochet and Karl Marx, everybody is European, and their philosophy of history is used. As a result, what happens? Conventional history writing began in Europe, encounter with the other. This history started with the encounter with the other, means us. We are the other. The colonies whom they are supposed to have discovered, it wrote history to pose the civilization and superiority of Europe as against those whose history has just began to encounter. This criteria of history writing itself was set by modern Europe. And this kind of history, this is two kinds of history. One is a grand narrative, I'll talk about it, grand narrative, primitive tribalism to nationalism, capitalism. That is one grand narrative. In other, there is no ideological orientation, it depends on the facts and methodology. Facts and methodology becomes problematic because facts are produced by a Rankan school where written documents are used for writing history. But Northeast India, more than most Northeastern people are pre-literate people. They have a language, but they do not have a written language. So where will they keep the facts? How will they produce the facts? So that we cannot write that kind of history, but that kind of history was written the moment they found that these people do not have written facts. That means they are historyless people. So 90% of the people of Northeast India are excluded as historyless people, meaning they are tribal people, primitive people, barbarians, and savages. Okay. So they did the same thing in other colonies. African, for example, there is the new schools of Africans. They say the history that has been written by the Europeans for us, he called it, this is history of Africans without Africans in them. They call it African's history, Africanist history, not African history. So in our history that is given, I wrote somewhere about the Mizo history, that in Mizo history there is hardly any Mizo. Others are there. So it is history of ours without ourselves. In that kind of history, what happened? Two different things happens. That exclusion and inclusion. Already said, these people are excluded from this history and these such people are included. And inclusion and inclusion, othering as they call it in critical social theory, expected. For example, I say that how does Indian history begin? Indus Valley civilization to the coming of independence. There is a narrative, unilinear narrative, where there is a center, whoever rules from Delhi center and others are the periphery. In this center, so Indus civilization, Vedic civilization, and then Harsha, Ashoka, and then comes the Turko-Afghan slave dynasty, then the Mughals, then the British, and then a nation state. In these format, this is very unilinear and straight-jacket. You will notice that there is no space for regional history. There is no space for regions. There is no space for vernaculars. So if you fit in this, then you are part of that history. If you don't fit in this, you are not part of that history. You are excluded. In Northeast India, what happens, you feel, as I said, in Northeast India, two different parts are two different geographical extensions are meeting, and geography is not without people. One is Southeast Asia, and one is Sino-Tibetan Asia. So in Arunachal we have Sino-Tibetan. In Arunachal side is Southeast Asia, Thailand, Burma, all these people. So geographies are there, so people are also there. It's not that these are just hills and rivers and lands. Those people are there. They are born there. They have evolved there. So if you that kind of history, or if you want to have, then you have to write about those people, their history. And in this history, in the standard history that you have presented, there is no scope of including those people. Because Indus Valley is not there, Buddhism is not there, Afghans are not there, Mughals are not there, and only the Britishers are there, and then the Indian nation state. I'll come to that in this. So we feel what happens, even though it is not written, it doesn't exclude the history. It doesn't say that this history, the history which is not written, even if it is not written, that history is there. For example, when all the states that I'm talking about, Indus Valley to British, all these states are there, social formations are there. In Northeast India, what happens? This is the Richard Eaton's calls that in medieval India is actually Persianate world. Persianate world doesn't include only the Mughal India. There are 3-4 major empires of medieval India, from China to Iraq and Iran and up to Greece, Turkey. All this is a Persian world. In this Persian world, Northeast India doesn't fit because Persian world did not come to that region. What instead we have a Shan state in Assam, Ahom. They come from Yunnan, establish as a Shan state, which they call it Mung Mao. They did not call it a state of their own, it's Mung Mao. In the county of Arunachal, we have another Shan state. In Arunachal also we have Tibetan states, Tawang and other places. So where here we have Indus Valley civilization and Vedic state and Ashoka state, and here we have these states of this nature. Then we have the Chutias and the Kacharis having their own states. Kacharis are a strange state that they were started in Serbia, ended up in Kashar of South in Kashmir, because they've been pushed by the Ahoms, and the moment they pushed, they did not just escape or migrate, they carried their state. Similar is the Tibetan state in Tawang and other places of Arunachal. Ahom state, we call it Ahom state, actually is a Shan state. It's very important. From Yunnan, when they migrated to Brahmaputra Valley, they carried their state. In fact, Ahom state was not really, was initially up to the 16th century, was a tributary of that original Shan state in Yunnan. And they maintained their relationship with their mother state till 1826. So what do you call? And I have a list of thing I will not say in Northeast India, if you just go by the heritage years, what will happen? Arunachal shows they have 101 tribes. Manipur similarly will have at least 19 to 20 communities, I will not say tribes, including both Nagas and Kukis and Zos and Meiteis, all of them. Similarly, Assam, all these, if you just go officially and say it's a number of people, all these people are a polity themselves. They are autonomous. All of them were autonomous. And here, this Indian historical model doesn't fit. What fits is, if you are James Scottian, arts or not, then it's a Jomia area. But I find it more, because Jomia says that these people are stateless people, which I do not agree. I feel Thammaya's idea of galactic politics. This entire Northeast India is like a galaxy. You see hundreds of stars. In Northeast India, these hundreds of states. All of them are autonomous. They are sovereign in one sense, dependent on another sense. They are raiding each other, fighting with each other, at the same time dependent on each other. They are raiding the plains, at the same time dependent on the plains. So this is the galactic polity. So this historical model that Indian history provides doesn't fit in Northeast India. Then we have, when Indian nationalist movement began, there is this idea, the idea of India, right from Nehru's discovery of India to Sunil Khilnani's idea of India. There is an idea of imagination of India, where you don't find Northeast India. In Sunil, neither in Nehru's discovery of India, nor Sunil Khilnani's idea of India, there is nothing about Northeast India. So in that imagination is Northeast India, but does it mean that Northeast India did not have an imagination of their own life? I just take so this imagination were there. I'll just talk one or two because without that in one idea you do not fit and another idea is not included. Your idea of a post-colonial state is not included in the idea of the nation state, and that is where the contest between history starts. In 1929, when various communities submitted their memorandum to the Salmon Commission, they visualized what kind of administration, what kind of state they wanted after the British left, or even if the British left, I just want to read the Naga Club submission to the Salmon Commission. It is in one sense a secessionist text. Others will call it secessionist text. I call it the text of imagination of a post-colonial state of the Nagas. Every community is entitled to imagine their own future. That is how. They say, I'm just quoting, it is all known to all of us, but still I want to read to emphasize it. Before the British government conquered our country in 1879-80, we were living in a state of intermittent warfare with the Assamese of the Assam Valley in the north and Manipuris of the south of our country. They never conquered us, nor were we ever subjugated to their rule. On the other hand, we are always a terror to these people. If the British government, however, wants to throw us away, we should not be thrust away to the mercy of those people who could have never conquered us themselves and to whom we are never subjected, but leave us alone to determine our future as in ancient times. So one is we live with intermittent warfare. That word in the text is very important. Number two is, that we are a terror to these people. I have done it in my contesting marginality book, the analysis, certain analysis of this thing. Terror means the Nagas have always considered, not just Nagas, the Arunachalis, the Mizos, they all consider themselves much more superior to the plains people. Because whenever the plains people were They are so weak they could not defend themselves. They could not fight a war against these people, so they were easily kidnapped, enslaved, and taken to the hills and sold to other people or enslaved. So they considered, because of their might, their warfare technology, they considered themselves much more civilized and superior to the British people. This get reversed after 100 years of colonialism. Same Naga people, then before independence, says that we are weak people, we are going among, if you are thrown among the 14 crore people of India, we will be submerged. So the people who consider themselves so powerful, so strong, and so civilized, how did they become so demoralized that they feared being submerged? They feared that has to be, that transformation has to be answered. How a community is so powerful, who consider themselves so powerful, suddenly realizes and demoralizes to extend themselves, because by that time they are ashamed of their head-hunting practices, ashamed of their primitive religion. They became ashamed that they lost to the British. So they were completely destroyed and demoralized people under colonial rule. That is why their own cultural traits were they look. I remember even now I live in Silchar. In Silchar there is a place called Alexandrapur where Mizos every year go in 1st January, and if there is a church, they go and offer penance. Regret that in this place in 1871 they headhunted and killed a European man, beheaded them, and took away their daughter as kidnapper. The same people, the people who had hunted, was a part of their culture, suddenly become ashamed of them, and they have built a church there and go there and offer penance every year. It's a pilgrimage. This is, I say, demoralization of a community. Demoralization, this is what colonial transformation, this is called post-colonial transformation does, this is called post-colonial predicament. I again want the, just few lines, just give this a little time, I'll just finish. What was this idea of a post-colonial state? For the Naga, whenever I got to read the text, I read from a memorandum submitted by T. Sakari. He says, forests, woodlands and rivers, 3 square miles a day, and zoo, that is right here, without measure. We talk freely, live freely, and often fight freely too. There is order in this chaos. This is his idea of life. This is his idea of the state he wants back. And then they want this life back. Whence this is the idea of a post-colonial. When I'm talking about idea of nation that others talk about rest of India, in Northeast India, this is the idea of nation we wanted to take. I can read more, but we don't have time if somebody is interested. And then what happens? There is this talk that in Northeast India there was no nationalist movement. We did not know about Gandhi and Nehru. We did not do freedom struggle. But I say from 1823, when Indian National Congress was being established in 18, till most of tribes were fighting the British. Where are these not freedom struggle? They are fighting for what? They are fighting the colonialists, resisting their advances to their land. Obviously, it is a freedom struggle. May it be there the idea, it's not a nationalist idea, because the ideology of nation has not yet come, but it was part of a freedom struggle. But before independence, just before independence, when there is air, that India is going to be independent, there is this folk song among the Mizos. I'll just read one from each of the community. Uh, India song do chulal banna, independence do chulal lanna. It basically means, joining India, they are contemplating whether after independence they should be part of India or they should not be. Joining India means the end of the operation of the chiefs, the lals, whereas independence meant continuation of the tyranny. And then they say, now it is the new dispensation of Gandhi and Nehru. Our white masters, white heartthrobs have left for London, now India is ours. This is a composition, a folk composition of individuals. And it means they have heard about Gandhi and Nehru. It means they were owning India. They say India is ours. They did not say India is for Indians. I just read another from Manipur. It's a very famous poem. Bhagat Sudhi Subhash and her countless sons sacrifice, this is a very loose translation, sacrifice their lives for thy freedom, mother. Now the tricolor flag of freedom flies. Let it remain flying as long as the sun and the moon, mother. Victory be theirs. Gandhi, Nehru, Subhash, all of them are there. Then, in 1920s, when Gandhi gave a call for non-cooperation movement, there is this tea garden, one in Karimganj of Kachhat, another in Tezpur. In both places, laborers left the place, thinking a new king has come to India. His name is Gandhi, and under king, we do not have to pay taxes, we don't have to pay work for anyone. So they are all leaving their tea plantations, going back to their original home. Of course, they were stopped and later on brutally repressed, etc. And we have this very famous Gadonang's Manipur's thing, who declared himself the son of Gandhi, and said, his song, the rough translation says, "Oh mighty Gandhi, come to rule upon us. You are the leader, you are the great. Come to rule us." He also says, "Oh Father," this is the song he composed when he wanted to meet Gandhi, who was supposed to come to Silchar by railway station. Of course, Gandhi could not come, but this song would remain. "Oh Father Gandhi came to this land. Teach us your ideals. Bring your dignity to this land. Hurry, spread your ideal upon us." When Jagannath is very interesting, he called himself the son of Gandhi, but when Jagannath was executed, Gaidilu, who took over the movement, called Jagannath the father of Gandhi. And the whole movement was carried on in the name of Gandhi. In fact, in the Lang village of Manipur, they had constructed a house called Gandhi House, from where they used to loot people around them, bring all the jewelries and money and collect there, and it is all offered to Gandhi. Now, and yet we say that Gandhi's name was heard in. Gandhi was not aware that his name was not being used like that, but it was used. And then things changed. I read from a very young Manipuri poet of Guru Gobind, Silver Jubilee of Indian Independence. At cock's crow one morning, we find ourselves belonging to a nation. What happens when our bodies leave us behind, and even our songs must lie damned to the square? While loitering in the desolate heat from the sky, a little bird shouted from above, "You are not free, you are not yet free." I'll read two more and then I'll go back to the last part. In Khasi Hills, where Desmond from Carmarthen writes, quite suddenly the British left. There was peace, there was sweet smell of wet leaves again. But in the wavering talk of time, there came those from the sweltering plain from everywhere, your stricken land, how they love your teeming soil, your bruised children. One of them told me, you know, yours is a truly metropolitan city. I'll come to this concept of metropolitan city. The Assamese poet wrote, a very famous Assamese poet wrote, and this is again the loose translation. It was better if we had the same assertion, independence and pride as before. Then the sharply suspicious unknown aliens who descend suddenly and bring destruction, resulting in acute fight, they are worse than sly frauds.
1 minute.
Yeah.
You have 1 minute.
Oh, okay, I'm finished. Now, why this transformation is taking place? If you see, I've read some poems which are actually as texts, because there are no other texts. There is no discovery of India, there is no idea of India. So, from these poems and folk songs, we have to use as text of the imagination of India. What this idea of nationhood? What does the idea of nationhood brought? It brought again that straightforward, the narrative, unilinear narrative, and nationalism, nation state has certain baggages. Like nation also has communalism, it has partition, it has republicanism, it has majoritarianism, it has cosmopolitanism, it has liberalism, it is secularism, it is federalism, modern legal system and judicial system. All of them go against the idea that people have of idea of their future that they have. And the result is the response to this is ethnic observance. I'll just end by quoting Rajni Kothari, the most important thing. He says, a new spectre is haunting the power elite of our time. It is the spectre of ethnicity. Variously expressed as assertion of cultures, communal upsurge, revivalism of religions, voices and movements of marginalized people, regions and nationalities, it represents affirmation of the diversity, indigenous authenticity of organic text. He says, ethnicity can take the form of defiance to modern nation state. And its homogenization and monotheistic thrusts. Ethnicity is defiance against the standardization attempt of capitalism. Since capitalism masquerades as modernity, it is a revolt against majoritarianism. To Kothari, ethnicity is a response and a reaction to world capitalism, the state system, and world culture based on modern technology, the pervasive communication and informative order, and the universalizing education system. So, to understand all this is the way. We cannot say that the nation state, the concept of nation state, the Indian nation is released a little. In fact, most of the Indian traditional leaders, from Tagore to Gandhi, all of them opposed the concept of nation state. They wanted that nation state is an European concept, it doesn't suit us. For India, we must have a civilization concept. That India is a civilization, where every small unit is a civilization, part of unit of civilization, and then it's inclusive. But the moment you become nation state, you become exclusive. You exclude certain things who doesn't fit your narrative. And this is what Rajni Kothari says, that when you resist this advancing nation aid, your response takes the form of ethnicity. And the problem in Northeast India, I feel, has to be understood from this concept of response to nation state in the form of ethnic absence. Thank you.
So, thank you very much, sir. It was very interesting presentation and dwelt into various issues on the Northeast because history is very important to understand the current issues and the challenges, and sir has touched upon various issues including the impact of the colonial rule. So without wasting much time, may I now request Sir Suhas Sharma. Sir, please take your time. Yes.
Thank you, Chair. Thank you, the organizers. I'll try to be brief and try to finish in 15 minutes time.
Yes.
Number of speakers are there. I think just to introduce first the kind of work we do. Our organization, Rights and Risk Analysis Group, basically analyzes the risk which arise out of conflicts or potential conflicts. So our main task is in a way to identify the trends and where possible issue early warnings to the state parties, non-state parties, civil society groups, so that they could understand the emerging threats. In a way, sometimes when people try to make their history, one of the pitfalls of these emerging conflicts. So it would be like any other company when they undertake a particular project. Of course, you have to do risk analysis. I don't think there is any company anywhere in the world which invests somewhere without doing some kind of risk management or risk analysis prior to the investment. So the state has to invest in it, society has to invest in it, and that's where I think we come from. And this whole idea of golden triangle, which I was referring to, I actually have started speaking a little bit sometime in 2024 after the collapse of the Burmese government, and after 79 years after the independence, which nobody had noticed, is the fact that the government of Myanmar, the military junta, the control of the Burma community on the entire country had collapsed. So it's not a failed state, it's a collapsed state. So obviously Burma will have its own consequences, but the challenge is what are the consequences for the neighboring communities, and its neighbors are actually only China and India, and in some parts it's Bangladesh, which is the Chittagong Tracts region where many of the communities live, including the Chakmas. I think whenever we talk about conflict and risk and the failed states, what usually comes to our mind is that Somalia in the 1990s. Then of course, as some of the countries collapsed all over Africa, as well as in the Middle East, some of which were created by the Western interventions, whether it's Sierra Leone, Libya, Liberia, Afghanistan, Syria, and at this point in time, Yemen. I mean, I think we have to understand what are the features of these failed states. And I would say, I think the oldest failed state is actually Myanmar. Because Myanmar, the Burma people never controlled the territories which they were given. They had been facing conflicts with the ethnic groups from the beginning itself, and they continue to take place. If you talk to an official from the UNHCR, whenever you say somebody is facing persecution, then they get a little bit wary because for how long you continue to suffer. And people often forget that it's not the Rohingyas who were first thrown out of that country. The first people who were thrown out of that country in 1963 were the Indians, and the Nepalis and the Hindus as part of the Burmanization of the country by naming once he took over. So one of the features which became quite well known in Burma was in the 80s and 90s when Golden Triangle became very famous. And Khunsa was the leader, the Dark Lord, and Golden Triangle consisted of basically parts of Laos, Thailand, and Burma. So the Golden Triangle almost became the most well-known drug trafficking point, you could see so many Hollywood movies. And of course now thereafter the situations in Somalia and other failed states, I mean, we will get to see those stories being made into films. But the original failed state was Myanmar, and the Golden Triangle was the reason. And what are the key features of this kind of failed states? I think features, of course, I mean, you see number of definitions, basically collapse of the modern state, the government losing control or not exercising control. But what usually are seen by the neighboring countries, they basically see exodus of population, refugees. So that's why you will see Thailand always, in a way, had seen refugees all the time. And in fact, there are so many agencies working on the refugees for donkey's years, much before even I joined the civil liberties movement. Then you see human trafficking, because people are in a desperate situation. You see lots and lots of drug trafficking, and at a certain point of time when you have this exodus of population and people are settling there, then you have the conflicts between the locals and those who have settled, even if they belong to the same community, because there are conflicts over resources. A person who has been trafficked or who has sought some kind of shelter, if they are in large number, they would in a way offer their services at a lower rate than the local communities are offering. And then it leads to immediate conflict. And anybody who has followed it, although they at this point in time, I think Mizoram has the largest number of Chin refugees. After the collapse of the Slow Rock State Law and Restoration Council in 1989, when the Chins had come to Myanmar, the original people, the Chins who had come were welcome, but at certain point in time, the Chin National Front as well as the YMA were having problems because of these issues. So I think what I wanted to highlight, and I have been highlighting for the last 1 year, is that Burmese government has collapsed. It has collapsed to an extent, I mean, if we somebody knows Burma, they will never gain the territories. So the government of India at this point of time doesn't have an interlocutor on the other side of the border. So from up north in China till the Chittagong Tracts region and the Chittagong region of Bangladesh, the counterparts of the government of India are the insurgent groups. So whether it's the Arakan Army, Chin National Front, Kachins or anybody. So you do not have a counterpart. And we see sometimes in the newspapers that some of the groups are coming and discussing, holding discussions with the government of India. In fact, a couple of weeks back, Reuters had broken a story saying that Kachins wanted to discuss with the government of India about the rare earths material which they have, because they do not want to sell on to the Chinese. And obviously, they are the only authority which exists there that the government of India pragmatically, in a pragmatic approach, has to engage with them. Now, the situation which we have in Burma is very simple. The Burmese government are under control. They are not going to take control over these territories. And I was telling some of my colleagues here that it's simply just Burmese, the Burma community has not spread into these lands of the Shans, Kachins, Arakanins, or Chins, etc. So once these armed groups have taken control over the territories, the Burmese military simply doesn't have the numerical community strength to take over the territories. They do not have local support, because the local communities have always been fighting against the Burmese. So what would be the consequences? I think the consequences would be, we all have already seen certain amount of influx. I think more than that is the kind of drug trafficking which is taking place. Because if you look at Burma today, because the Burmese government doesn't control the territories, basically it has been formed into some kind of a barter economy, because the currency is very limited. Then of course wars are very expensive, because at the end of the day, if you have 40,000 armed cadres, 30,000 armed cadres, enough to apparently attacks by the Burmese army, you obviously require enormous amount of funds. So where do you bring these funds? Because you cannot tax your population. Taxing population because they are already impoverished, there is no economy running, so where do you run? So obviously, I mean, if you look at Afghanistan, if you look at Burma in the beginning, of course, drug has to be one of the key factors. And if you look at the drug seizures, which is launched by the government of Israel, Operation Jericho, each time I think I was just searching the newspapers that you could see that 20 crores drug, 10 crores drug, 15 crores drug being seized by the Assam Rifles. So what we know is basically what is being captured. What we do not know is what is not being captured. And captured part is very, very small portion of the territory. So it has implications on the entire Northeast. And these implications, if we do not understand today, if our state, the society, the communities, civil society groups are not aware, I think the consequences will be felt 15 years down the line. So what I became concerned about is the kind of impact even it has on a smaller community like the Chakmas. Because the Chakma population in India is only 225,000 as per the 2011 census. But we always have been hearing news stories that a particular armed group, which is held by the Chakmas in the Chittagong tracks, which operates in India, in Mizoram and Tripura especially, which is known as the Parvata Chittagram Janasamati Samiti. All of you must have heard in the past about the Shanti Bahindus. They themselves being involved in drug trafficking, and it is headed by a person who heads the Chittagong Tracks Regional Council in Bangladesh. Then I started the research. Then research in the beginning did not lead anywhere. Then in the last couple of months, the news stories I started featuring that Chakmas being arrested in Mizoram and Tripura with drugs. And what drew my attention was that at 19 June, 10 crore rupees drug was captured from 2 young Chakma boys. Now, out of these 225,000 people, 10 crore possibly will buy the entire community. Who are the owners of these drugs? Obviously, the Mizos will not require the Chakmas to, transport these drugs. Then obviously it's being sold out somewhere, consumed somewhere, being sold. Then of course, then if you look at the stories in the other side of the border, which is government drugs, then you could see sometimes Burmese cigarettes being seized. Then I realized later on that actually what is seized is a small part of the drugs, so that there is an arrangement with the Bangladeshi security forces. The expensive drugs, you can take them, then you give the certain cheap drugs to the security forces, then the security forces show that they have captured drugs, so it's helps the purpose of both these communities. And what we have seen is that I started doing this research just to substantiate. Then I found out from the websites of the district courts. If you go to the district courts all over the country, because digitalization is there, the orders you could read them. Then I found out that 11 Chakmas were arrested in the last 1.5 years. And these are the cases pending before the Aizawl District Court as well as Lunglei District Court. And I have not found in the Saiha District Court. So obviously the poor Chakmas in Mizoram, they are not the one who are the owners of this drug. They are mere couriers. And we have seen across the world that the couriers do not know anything, and those who are poor, economically disadvantaged, they are always, used and abused because they go through the harsher sentencing. Because if you possess certain amount of drugs which can be used for commercial purposes, the sentence is at least 10 years or 20 years. And if you read the stories of indigenous peoples in Latin America, you will see across Colombia, across Mexico, the drug cartels use the indigenous women, and they call them mules. And if you read these stories in The Economist, written a couple of years back, if you do research, you would find how indigenous communities are being used for drug trafficking. And this situation in Northeast India and Chittagong Hill Tracts is not the same. And you will find these indigenous communities are being used. And I think the most dangerous part is that those who are involved in this drug trafficking possibly belong to the community. Because at the end of the day, if it's an armed group doing, in one hand he has a political face representing the community. So he is regarded well in the society. So nobody can question him. Everyone is scared of him in the society. But on the other hand, they carry out these criminal activities. And the final point which I wanted to mention is, now look at the situation of the Chakmas in the Chittagong Hill Tract or India. The mainstream Chakmas are in Bangladesh. And the smaller communities, Chakmas, have been this part of the world in India from the British period, or much from the Tripura, Mizoram, we share the same borders. Now, the last point, which should be very much concerning, is that this Bangladeshi armed group, which is involved in drug trafficking, nobody knows in India. It doesn't even make news. And when you talk about the Burma and its implication in the Northeast, you actually do not even include Chittagong tracts. You only see the Northeastern, 7 Northeastern states, without realizing that the another hills which had fallen on the other side, that's the Chittagong tracts. So this is headed by somebody called Shandu Rama. He was the leader of this insurgent group called Parvati Chittagram Janasangha Samiti. They ran an insurgency movement from 1975 and then signed an agreement in 1997. They returned back from India. And he is from 1997 till today the chairman of the Chittagong Hill Tracts Regional Council, created by the government of Bangladesh. From 1998 till today, he has been kept as the chairman of the Regional Council without elections. When elections are to be held for every 5 years, he holds the rank of the Minister of State. But at the same point of time, you have not seen anywhere in the world, even in the failed states, that he is allowed to actually have an armed group which operates in Arakan region, which operates in Mizoram, which operates in Tripura, in the border areas, because the border is porous. Imagine this situation in Bangladesh. Every political leader in Bangladesh from 1970 to today, Prime Minister, Army Chief, Chief Justice Sharad Sinha, everybody had to flee, but this guy is still here. Hasina had fallen. She is living in Delhi, possibly next door to close to us, where we are speaking. But this guy still the chairman of the CSC Regional Council. And which is the #1 enemy country of Bangladesh today? It is India. At least so long Dr. Yunus is there. And that Chakma is allowed to keep his armed group in the enemy country of Bangladesh. And the government of Bangladesh even doesn't take actions. So you could see the complicity of this. So I think we are in a situation, it's not naive geopolitical issues. There are proxy wars which are coming up. So if the government of India doesn't understand these issues, if the communities do not understand these issues, we will find possibly the government of Bangladesh, government of Pakistan, and all other actors who have interest in Bangladesh, Burma, and the Northeast India, they will be using this person. So, and the first victim would be the Chakmas, because when you carry drugs, you not only export it, you also find local consumers. So who will be the first consumers? The first consumers will be Chakmas in Tripura, in Mizoram, in the Chittagong tracts. So that's why I think when you talk about the Burmese situation, the new Golden Triangle, entire Burma has become the Golden Triangle. It's not only the parts of Burma close to Thailand. It is Northeast India, in the Chittagong tracts, and I would say that in the next 15 years down the line, we might have a situation you have seen Uttar Punjab, it could be worse situation, and because it is in the peripheries, it usually is not the focus of the government. Then of course the consequences will be severe. It's not the human trafficking, it's not the exodus of the refugees which poses a threat. It's the drug trafficking which will destroy the entire communities simply because drug has become so affordable that you can take a shot with 300 rupees, a leveler earns possibly 600 rupees. He can take one shot without even feel hungry, can go to work next day. So that's the risk which is going to come. And I don't think if we are feeling the pinch with 225,000 population, the other communities will also face the same situation. And that's what the risk is all about. Thank you.
Thank you very much, sir, for another very important presentation, because the Northeast states being surrounded by different countries. So what is happening in Myanmar or what is happening in Bangladesh will always have, different kinds of implications in the Northeastern states. So the sir has very elaborately highlighted the issues and the concern. So now we have one online presentation. This is Dr. Sandeep Gupta. So he's from Nagaland University. Sandeep Gupta. So Sandeep is my friend. So if it is around, it is
going online. So can you
Sandeep, he's still there.
I'll text him.
No. So, after Sandeep, so our next speaker will be Mr. Kaushik Dekha, editor here today. So, he's already here, so let us. Sandeep is here. Hello, Sandeep. Yes. Hello, Sandeep. He is from Lumani campus, Nagaland University. So
Network is very poor.
Very poor. Hello, Sandeep. How are you?
He is not moving.
He is not moving. So I think let him.
Okay.
Wait for some time.
In between, I think, Thomas, should we go for?
So yeah.
As we wait for him.
As we wait for Sandeep, so may I request Mr. Kaushik Dekha?
Where is that microphone? Please keep that on the podium.
Sir, please come forward.
Okay.
And if you can just, if you want to sit here or if you want to stand, it's up to you.
Good afternoon, and thank you for inviting me. I'm a bit stressed out and intimidated because lots of intellectuals are here, academicians, experts, and I'm a journalist. You know who we are, what kind of job we do. We basically look for information, then spread it out. Very interesting and very boring job at the same time. So for me to talk about Northeast, it's pretty difficult for me, though I come from Assam. But I have spent more than 50% of my life in Delhi. When I was in Assam also, I was not very tuned into the culture or the ethos of Northeast. In fact, I have started observing Northeast from a very neutral and independent perspective because I have seen the life of mainstream India and I have seen the life of Northeast. So when it comes to Northeast, what is Northeast for us? First of all, this concept of Northeast is a bit flawed in a sense that there are 7 states in the Northeast. All states are different from each other, though we have some common factors, and all states are very rich in their own diversities. Yet, for our own convenience, more of the mainstream India, it's clubbed as Northeast, a geographical entity. But if we carefully look at Northeast, it's not exactly a geographical phenomenon because if you leave aside the lower side of Assam and people who are also kind of immigrants from the rest of India, then the other side, they have a very different culture, more connected probably to the Southeast Asia. In fact, we can see this as a not exactly homogeneous unit, but as a larger unit of if we stretch it to up to Vietnam, Laos, Singapore, all these areas, and we'll find lots of similarities. And perhaps whenever you travel to these countries, you feel that oh, you are at home. It looks, feels like home. But leave that aside as part of India when we talk about Northeast. To me, there are so many nice things about Northeast. It's perhaps the most beautiful part of geographically the most beautiful part of India. You find most of the educated people in the Northeast, at least since when I was growing up, education was the most important thing in our families, and I believe that's true even now. So whatever you do, you have to first get your education, that focus on education. Then we have the most fashionable and good-looking people, the fittest one also. If we compare ourselves with the rest of India, you will see that we have great fashion sense, we have great physique also. Then if you look at our other achievements, look at the food habit. Now it's coming out that we have the best food habit in the country. It's scientifically proven now, though we are gradually trying to discard our food habits, the traditional food habits, but if you carefully observe, it's the healthiest. And then we have immense respect for women, at least I like to believe it that way. In fact, if you look at the most famous woman from the Northeast, she is known for her power of her fist, Mary Kom. So we have so many beautiful things in our part of the country, yet we have so many contradictions, and this is what actually puzzles me. Now, I said we have the most beautiful place in the Northeast, so we are but at the same time, it's also one of the most violent locations in the country. And have we ever tried to think about it? Why are we so violent? Means in many ways. Because when I am here looking at Northeast from Delhi, I still don't understand such a magical place, such a beautiful place. My wife is not a Northeastern person, she is from Delhi. Whenever she travels to me, she points this out to me. Look at the other places of India, how difficult life is over there. You go to Rajasthan, you go to Bihar, you go to several other places, and then look at Northeast. Nature has given us in plenty. There are so many great things that as he goes to our villages, he says these are clean villages. You get almost everything that you require in the village, whatever you need for your sustenance. Then there is also a very good village habit. I don't know how it is going on at the moment, but it's a very cooperative society over there. But still, we do not look at that, and whenever there is a little friction, we get extremely violent. Like I find it very interesting that we are talking about one Northeast cohesive unit, and then Meiteis and Cookies are struggling to live together in the same small geography. So, and it's true about all other states. We are talking about our food habits, as I mentioned, that the best food habit we have, and then we have probably one of the highest drug users in the country. I talked about the education part, then at the same time we have the joblessness also. I talked about respecting women, perfectly correct, but at the same time if we look at our political representation, it's almost nil. So why these contradictions? Since despite having so many positives in what we define as Northeast, why we are struggling with ourselves actually? And in a sense, we have been global leaders. Like we are talking about the whole world is now talking about immigration, and we have been talking about immigration at least since I was a child. We have been talking about it. We are struggling with it, but while we are fighting the external enemies or external aggression, why are we fighting among ourselves? Why two communities? I'm not even mentioning the current ones, the Meitei Cookies, but we have several instances of even two villages struggling to live together, or we are talking about interacting with the mainstream, but how many of in Assam would know about the culture of Mizoram or say Arunachal? So are we actually integrating with each other that closely among the northeastern states, among the, I'm talking about 7 states only, I'm not even mentioning Sikkim here. So as long as we don't have that interaction, means we have to ask ourselves some very basic questions. Why? I find it very strange that after so many years of our independence, who is responsible for the simple fact that 7 state capitals are not connected by train? It's not, people can talk about terrain, difficulties and all those things, but the world has done wonders. So it's a pretty simple thing that you can have always a road and train connectivity, at least among the 7 state capitals. I believe that will help a lot in developing or increasing the interaction among ourselves, the diverse communities that we are in Northeast. Because as an Assamese, I probably know more about the other states of India than our other 6 states of Northeast. So who will you question? That question will come to the political leadership that we have got. And we can very well blame them that they do not speak in parliament, they do not say anything, they remain silent, they are not focusing on the development, but we are only electing them. The other day I got a very strange information, I don't know how true that information is, that the State Bank of India in Arunachal's Itanagar branch, it's perhaps the country's most richest branch across India, forget about Northeast. Now think of it, we are a region which is talking about poverty, economic deprivation and all that, and State Bank of India has the richest branch, if not the richest, one of the richest branches in Itanagar, in Arunachal. So these disparities, we have let these things happen because despite education, despite all our awareness, probably we are not focusing much into our social and political empowerment, and why it hasn't happened. I am not an expert to talk about it. Academicians and other experts can throw light on that, but I can observe only as a neutral observer that perhaps at times this may sound very controversial. We remain focused on not smaller issues, but certain issues which are important, like our music, our culture, our tradition, everything is important, but at the same time social and economic empowerment and progress and political empowerment. These things are important, and these things are not to be achieved only by going to the streets or starting another agitation or taking up arms, but to use the system that we have. We may have less number in parliament, we may have less number in other representation, but whatever we have, we must make use of that. And I believe this is the best time to make use of that, because Northeast is, at least now, it's very fashionable. In a sense that it's in every discourse, from OTT platforms to movies to political discourse, for whatever reason. Means they have their own reasons, own agenda, but at least it's in national discourse. It's finding that focus. So we must make use of that. And there are so many Northeastern people I see in good positions. They all should, when I say good positions, then positions through which they can assert or exert their influence. So I think they all should come together. They should interact more instead of being their own community leaders. And then I believe through a very silent and but very steady process, we can mingle well with the rest of the country, and we can actually achieve the true potential that we have. And one thing, last thing I'd like to maintain, that we have a tendency to be among ourselves. Not, we need to interact more with the rest of India. And it's also a flawed idea or flawed perception that we think that the mainstream has to do something for us, or Delhi has to do something for us. Delhi actually does nothing for anyone. Every state you go to, they will have their complaints that Delhi is discriminating against us, because there is nothing called Delhi, there is nothing called mainstream. You will have to make your voice heard through different means, and you have to achieve your potential. So that can happen when you will tell your own stories. If we have the best food habit, let's promote it. If we are fashionable, let's promote it. You have to blow your own trumpet. This is the age of advertising and marketing, so you have to blow your own trumpet and make it fashionable. Already it's becoming. And I think then things will gradually move. It's moving. To me, it's moving in the right direction, only that we have those interruptions of violence and this unity and fight among ourselves. We have to move beyond that. It's easy to say such things from such a platform, such a secure environment. I know saying the same thing in Manipur at the moment would be pretty difficult. I was there last month. Terrible situation, but I'm hopeful. People like you, when you will gather together, when you will brainstorm, you will make your voice heard, then we'll have better stories to write about, better stories that we can showcase in national media. Thank you so much for inviting me. I hope I could make some sense. Thank you.
Thank you very much, sir. Thank you very much, sir. It was very, you have given lots of thought on the Northeast. And what was very interesting is that now is he has said very nicely that, so although we are from the Northeast, we little about the other areas of the Northeast. So this is the one of the problems. They say I am from Manipur. I know about Manipur, and I don't know much about Mizoram or say Arunachal Pradesh. And at the same time, there is also a feeling that, say for instance, sometimes we think that Delhi is very near from far, but at the same time, we thought that Itanagar is very far, or Aizawl is very far. So this conception we need to change. So we need to engage, and we need to know the reason, the people, the different people, different areas of the region. So very, very interesting, sir. You have given lots of the good news about the Northeast also, but at the same time, the constraint that the Northeastern states have. So thank you very much, sir. So we now move to the online presentation. Where is Sandeep? Sandeep? Hello, Sandeep? If Sandeep is not there, what about Dr. Gunamani from Nagaland University? Gunamani, you are audible. And so my request to you is that if you can make, because since the network is not very good, so if you can make a bullet point presentation in about 5 minutes. You are, your voice is very low. Yes? Okay. So please make a bullet point presentation in about 5 minutes, okay? Yes, okay, my guesses. Can I start speaking? Am I audible? Yes.
Yes, please start.
Yes, please start. Yes, please. Okay. So, first of all, thank you, Northeast Solidarity Initiative for giving me an opportunity to this very on the idea of Northeast India, the type of and India's years, and I love So let's come back again. I think it's not making sense. Like double equaling. Then some will resume the offline. I think that will make sense. So sorry for the inconvenience. So I think we better have the presentation here reserved when we are waiting for the online presentation. So now may I request Sahib? Please. Yeah.
Good afternoon, everyone, and thank you so much, Professor Ronnie and the organizers for providing me with this opportunity to share a small talk or share my thoughts with everyone present here. Thank you for the wonderful lecture by Professor Nag and Mr. Chakma. And I found it especially very enlightening, Professor Nag, your whole talk, and I learned a lot from this session today. I'd like to take off from where a point that Professor spoke about. He spoke about the top-down history making that we have seen in this country, right? And so I want to ask, most of us here, I mean all of us here, how many of us know about this personality called Gomodhar Kumar? Have you heard of him? So, you know, if you go by historical records, Gomodhar Kumar was this armed noble who actually revolted against the British in 1828. That is 2 years after the British entered Assam through the Treaty of Yandarburg. So which makes him rather as one of the very first freedom fighters in this Indian subcontinent. And in this top-down history making, most of us, including us Assamese people, most of us don't know this history. If we do a slight comparison, Professor Nag spoke about how till the late 19th century there were so many freedom movements happening by different ethnic communities. Just to make a short, very small analogy, like we've heard of Birsa Munda. All of us have heard, right? Birsa Munda fought against the British, a very revolutionary fight, which was in the late 19th century. But when we talk of Gomodhar Kumar, he was in 1828. Then we have purely Fukuan from 1830. How many of us know of him who was actually hanged by the British for rebellion? And this is way before even 1857. So, while I was asked to talk about identity, plurality, resilience, and Assam, my home state, I take recourse to history. Because without history, without the archives, and as Professor Nag very wonderfully explained, that our archives are mostly oral. What is the archive that we have? So I, as a student of history or cultural studies or whatever, I am fascinated with the archives. And I try to make meaning out of the archives. So I prepared a short talk. Please forgive me if it makes or does not make sense. So I'll just go ahead with it. So with my topic, identity, plurality, resilience in Assam, I am thankful for this opportunity to share my thoughts on with this authors gathering on this very nice, warm, sunny November afternoon. So I would like to start this talk with a very short video. This is a recent video from the 25th of October, shot in the Dima Hasao district of Assam. Let us hear a little from this video. It's a 2-minute long video. We'll just play for 30 seconds.
लेकिन आप लोग को छठ पूजा चाहिए वैसा करा आप लोगों को सर नहीं दे रहा है ना छठ पूजा नहीं करने दे रहा है बिहार में हमको भूषणी का हमको भूमि देगा हमको जमीन पे हमको एक गांव देगा हमको क्या बात करता है आपको तकलीफ होगी इसलिए आज किया नहीं
Okay, so I'm not playing the whole video, but I'm sure most of video, right? And there's a particular context to why I played this video. If you hear, I mean, Daniel speaking in Hindi, so I'm assuming everyone understands what he is kind of saying, right? So in this video, we see activist and politician Daniel Lankasa prominently. He's wearing a t-shirt which says, "I love six schedule." And we can see him being assertive for his and his people's rights in the sixth schedule area of Dima Hassan. This video, in a sense, captures the key words of my talk today: identity, plurality, and resilience in my native state, Assam. Even as I speak today, Assam is being rocked by large-scale demonstrations demanding ST status, or the scheduled tribe status, by various communities like the Tayamuns, Morans, Sukiyas, Koch Rajbangshis, etc. So in such an environment, how do we contextualize the questions of identity, plurality, and resistance, moving from beyond and not just limited to the six schedule areas? So as I would like to go back into a little history of Assam and its peoples, and how we talk about and why this history is important even as we speak about these topics today. So India's northeast region has been framed politically over the years in multiple ways, often as a frontier for resource extraction or a frontier with strategic boundaries. The region has also been perceived as the margins of a pan-Indian civilization wherein the communities are constructed as the racial other. This construction has prevailed in even the pre-colonial discourse of difference when Assam was ruled by several dynasties and was not part of the Mughal map. Colonialism accentuated these polarities through its administrative and ethnographic discourses. Despite being fairly integrated as a part of British India, post-colonial Northeast India witnessed growing marginalization from the center. Issues of demographic change, resource extraction, governance, sovereignty remained political issues for movements from the region. This region remained as a quote-unquote law and order situation for India. People from the NER or Northeast have been both at the center stage as well as the receiving end of discriminative mainland Indian policies imbricated within the larger history of colonialism. So what do I mean by the term mainland India? A term which all of us use, right, in little or large ways. It is a term used in political parlance of Northeast India as a place-making strategy, producing Northeast India and its terrains as administered governance category. Geographically speaking, the Northeast in our case refers to what is beyond the narrow landmass of 22 kilometers in Siliguri, West Bengal, named the Chicken Neck, which connects the 7 states with the rest of Indian states. This term also refers, mainland India, also refers to a discourse stemming from political movements that sees Assam and other states of the region as marginalized by the central government and its seat of power in Delhi. The onslaught of colonialism and its political legacies are strongly entangled in the structuring and transformation of demography in this region, with what was first a comprador relationship slowly turning into what me and others term as frontier/borderland was in opposition to previous long-standing pre-colonial imagery drawn from Sanskrit or Persian texts that depicted Assam as a remote periphery to which legend and hearsay attributed a fearsome reputation for supernatural wonders and esoteric witching rituals, as explained by historian Jayita Sharma. The transition towards becoming an important hinterland for Assam was finally marked by the discovery of tea. The East India Company in its early surveys used two metaphors for the land of the Northeast. One, the land abundant, and two, jungle. Both of which indicated that capitalist exploitation of land was yet to take place in Assam. Post-1857, we also noticed that the colonial administration halted its direct and aggressive policy of absorption of land, and instead policies of indirect rule were established to accommodate and ultimately appropriate, as historian Manas Bordoloi argues, the incomplete project of colonial conquest. So in this context, what was implemented was the discipline of anthropology, which supplanted history as the principal colonial modality of knowledge and rule, as argued by Nicholas Dirks. The ethnographic state was thus driven by the belief that India could be ruled using anthropological knowledge to understand and control its subjects and to represent its own mission. The departure from settled and unsettled rice cultivation into commercial agriculture marked the first changes in land usage patterns in colonial Assam that witnessed the emergence of the modernization paradigm that subsequently developed in different directions. The British abolished the Ahum pike system, hoping that people free from this system would fulfill the requirement of labor within newly acquired and functioning tea gardens. This expectation, however, failed and was replaced by the gradual emergence of racial stereotypes in terms of geography, producing a region and people now as a insalubrious valley of lazy and indolent people. Thick jungles covering malarial tracts were cleared to establish new plantations, and due to the growing demand of clerical work, both in the colonial bureaucracy and in the management of tea gardens, people from other regions migrated into the province. While the first category of these Babus hailed largely from East Bengal, they consisted of educated Bengali-speaking Hindus from districts like Sylhet, who collaborated with the EIC, or the East India Company, to build a mechanism of local governance and control over the native population of Assam. Only a few people from erstwhile tribal classes of the Ahum kingdom managed to occupy such positions, that is the clerical positions. The bulk of labor came from the tribal areas of Chota Nagpur region, eastern UP and present-day Telangana, mostly brought into Assam by coercive mode of labor recruitment. Towards the end of the 19th century, the region became incorporated not only into the fiscal and economic mechanisms of the colonial statecraft, but also within its administrative and political framework. The Mills Report, which was the foundation of many such administrative decisions, described the hills as inhabited by uncivilized tribes, further referring to the Assamese common peasant as apathetic and indolent. Now, Mills' report is by A.J. Moffat Mills, who was a judge of the Southern Court during the early days of British rule in Assam. So, in his report, Mills gathered information and expressed his views and offered suggestions on many diverse aspects of the area of land, revenue system, modes of cultivation, population patterns, manufacture, etc., etc., etc. Now, Manas Bordeloi further argued that several common terminologies used in the ethnocentric discourse of Assam, like tribal or excluded and partially excluded areas, etc., have been introduced by the colonial administration all throughout the 19th century. The administrative division of people of India along the lines of tribal and non-tribal began with the British provision for the non-regulated areas in and around 1833, followed by the Scheduled Districts Act of 1874. So along with this nomenclature and colonial ethnographical terms, from the middle of the 19th century, the idea of the, within quotes, indolent native took root. Mills reported that 3/4 of the population are opium eaters, and men, women and children alike use the drug. The laziness of the subject population was castigated as it enfeebles the mind and paralyzes the industry. So when we say, like even a half jokingly, that Assam is the land of lahe lahe, we need to keep in mind where this lahe lahe imagination actually took part, where it emerged. It's not so all nice and innocent when you actually look into the etymology of certain terms by which we stereotype not just ourselves but each other, right? So the laziness of the subject population, as I said, was castigated as it enfeebles the mind and paralyzes industry. In contrast to natives, the land itself was constructed as very productive, with an overwhelming quantity of culturable waste capable of producing the finest pots.
Just a minute. You can finish in 2-3 minutes.
Give me 5 minutes.
Yes, 5 minutes.
So hence it was converted into tea gardens. In 1901, tea occupied 244,653 acres, and 13% of Assam's population was born outside the province. Another group of people that arrived in Assam following the hills of the colonial rule was what historian Joeta Sharma refers to as the Babus and Sylheti sojourners, whose previous patterns of migration were drastically altered with the British inaugurating opportunities for educated classes from neighboring East Bengal in government offices, schools and tea gardens in Assam. The colonial state also encouraged migration by making the transition of immigrants easier, a gradual process that undermined the indigenous Oromia. The 19th century remarkable not only for its political transformation but also for initiating demographic changes in Assam, thus progressively marginalized the indigenous communities of the region as indolent natives or opium-addicted idlers who were considered not educated enough to take advantage of the opportunities offered to them by the colonial state or were simply too lazy to work. The emergence of such racial stereotypes progressively led to the framing of admin policies that actively supported the non-indigenous subjects in the NER. A parallel development that was happening with what I have just discussed here and also mentioned previously was the categorization of tribes in our region. Manas Bordelais argues that colonial anthropology helped create a stratified society of castes and tribes where there was opposition among themselves under an alien rule or the British rule. However, there was also another important factor cementing the relations between the different indigenous communities of the region at the beginning of the 20th century, and which is the unabated immigration of what he calls land-hungry peasantry from erstwhile East Bengal to Assam. Although, as Bordelais says further, the effects of this immigration were felt all over Assam, it was the ethnic population which found itself in a head-on collision with the immigrants soon after the latter began encroaching on the former's lands and resources. Questions regarding land alienation and the protection of tribal lands that had become important during the late 1920s intensified in the 1930s. Immigrants arriving in colonial Assam were not all landless peasants in search of a livelihood. Many were land speculators and rich landlords, land in Assam being settled not only with Muslim peasantry from East Bengal, but also Hindus from Sylhet and Kachar, Nepali graziers and cultivators, and with time expired coolies. Tensions mounted over the fear of a demographic shift in Assam from 1930s onwards, especially after the census of 1931, with which, as we all know, what C.S. Mulan said, raising concern regarding the settlements of immigrants in almost all its districts. Though Mulan's language about army and invasion were exaggerated, he did point to a demographic change, and despite what historians like Amalendu Guha has stated, it is not Mulan who made the indigenous people aware of the questions of land alienation and loss of culture. During this time, the Congress and the Muslim League debated the availability of the land and the growing population of Assam as the number of Bengali speakers had grown exponentially in the decades between 1911 to 1931 according to census figures. In fact, when Gopinath Bordelais, the former Premier of Assam Province and the first Chief Minister of Assam in independent India, was imprisoned in Jorhat jail in 1940 for participating in the non-cooperation movement as called by Gandhi, he wrote in his prison diaries the urgent need for him to, within quote, publish a leaflet on the problems of Assam for the information and briefing of the national leaders of India. Historian Nirokshi Borua cites Bordelais' prison diaries and writes that, within quote, how intensely Bordelais must have felt this need can be judged from the entry in his diary dated 17 March 1941, where Bordelais writes that, I am astonished to know that even the Vice-Chancellor of the University of Andhra Pradesh thinks that Assam is a Muslim majority state. There is no one in Assam to explain to the general mass of Indians that Assam is not a state to be incorporated into the League's concept of Pakistan. So this immigration between the provinces of Bengal and Assam emerged as one of the most contentious political issues of the 30s and 40s, defining the political articulation of the Congress Party, the Muslim League and the Tribal League, with demography, language and land emerging as primary research concerns. Despite partition, the movement of immigrants across what then materialized as international borders continued. Political scientists like Anupama Roy have written about the crisis of citizenship in Assam, linking all movements like the ASU-led Assam movement and the Alpha struggle to this very fundamental problem. This is despite the Citizenship Act of 1955 that had taken the partition and its aftermath into consideration, with partition constituting massive migration movement between the two newly created nations. The pushing forward of dates of chronological boundaries from the decided date of 51 to 71 was an exception created especially in the case of Assam, whereas general cartographic boundaries for the other regions was decided by 1947. This issue of citizenship linked with voting rights is evidence from the documentation of electoral rolls that came out during the Assam movement after 1979. And when elections were forced on the state in 1983, the ASU protested, since it is the issue of who was entitled to vote which was at the crux of the movement and which remained unsolved. This conundrum regarding immigrants, the ones who became legalized and the ones who did not, kept gnawing at the social and political fabric of Assam. The Indian state's inability to respond to the complicated remnants of the colonial state produced the frontier of Assam as a constant borderland. As various political movements emerged in Assam, the lazy native, the unproductive subject, became branded as an insurgent, creating law and order situations. While the Assam Accord of 85 was signed to end this long protest and resolve this issue of illegal immigration, a specific clause in the accord, which is clause 6, contained a strange legal twist, entrusting the committee with the complex and confounding task of defining Assamese people. Nowhere in the world are citizens given the task of defining themselves. So, I just want to conclude by saying that when we look at Daniel Lanthasa's video, what we see is like when we see him explode in anger, we watch or the allotment of the 3,000 bighas of land in Dima Hasao to a cement company. Dima Hasao, as a district, you must remember, is a protected area under the 6th schedule of the Indian Constitution. Which recommends, the 6th schedule recommends the establishment of an autonomous council, and previously, though it was known as the North Kachar Hills district, it is now under the North Kachar Hills Autonomous Council, functioning as per the Assam Autonomous Districts. So thus, as a conclusion, the ideas of identity or plurality or resistance in Assam has to be located within specific histories, political genealogies, and narratives that have been implemented to colonize the land and resources owned by indigenous communities of the state and the rest of the Northeast for the last 2 centuries. Colonial policies have been enacted through various forms and means, has only led to the marginalization of the already marginalized indigenous communities of this region, including Assam. Just using terms, lazy terms to mislabel us when we try and protect our land and cultural rights in the mainland or mainstream media, like when we write against the car or when we write in support of NRC or such things, I would term them as outright lazy and anachronistic.
Thank you very much. You have brought out a very, very important issue. That is an issue which we find in most of the northeastern states, especially in the state of Assam, on this issue of migration, identity, conflict, and nowadays you have NRC and CA and so forth. So that was very interesting, and then at the same time he has also gone back to the history where when we talk about migration, colonialism plays a very, very important, as many of you are familiar with. Same as that has happened in the case of Assam also. So that is a very, very interesting presentation. Now yes. So we will request Dr. Gunamani from Nagaland University. We will try to reach him virtually. Hello. Hello. It should not be a problem. Okay.
No, gas.
Yes, you are audible.
Hello? Yes, it's fine.
Am I audible?
Yeah, thank you.
Hello.
Yeah. Am I now?
Oh, sir, this
Can you hear me? Can you hear me?
Yeah, I think we better go for the offline.
Hello? Can you hear me? Can you hear me? Am I? Sorry. Apologies for the inconvenience. So I think we'll not wait for the online thing. So now I will request Rajiv Sinha. So please come. We are sorry here. Please come here. Yes, please come.
Hello everyone. It's a great honor for me to be here with all of you. So I understand and I'll.
Okay. So if you don't mind, please 10 to 15 minutes.
Yeah, sure. It's just a great pleasure and honor to be along with eminent faculties, students, and other practitioners. Before I start, let me share with you corporate. I think that is important because we want to have these discussions and so forth. The larger the discussion happens in the faculties and the academicians, we as a corporate work very closely with the academicians because we take them as thought leaders and bring those thoughts in the practical application to create value. Now, let's start with, I work with an organization, okay, and that is 8 lakhs of employees, which if you take all the state and public sector employees of Northeast, probably will be closer to more than that. Okay, that's the size that we have. In an organization, when you hear about, okay, he's working in this organization, IT, what you tend to think engineer, and they start doing some programming, all those. So it is a design, the development, and the delivery what we tend to see. But behind this, there is a corporate strategy that takes into account all the factors that is happening. The first level of what we see is called as left factor, which is social, legal, economic, political, and technology. We assess all of those as a risk factors as well as the growth factor, so that we decide whether to go ahead or not to go ahead. So we have a big go or no go decision, right? Those are the strategy we formulate. Then there is a legal, there is a finance, there is a marketing, procurement, and so forth. Okay? Now what happens? As we start working, and I have been in the corporate area for more than 25 years, I was doing the models, I'm another science practitioner, built more than 5,000 models in my life, can see the data trend, all the activity what's going to happen in the future. Okay? But as I grow up, I start seeing all of these factors. Okay? And the knowledge, we learn a lot of things in knowledge. We are never an expert of anything actually, but we have the ability to learn new things and move forward, right? And during this process, I worked in a large-scale transformations where we bring all the capabilities and change all of these organizations like telecom, banking, or manufacturing to the new state. Okay? So we try to understand. Now, this transformation is about understanding what capability will bring value. The other part of the transformation is the change management, and why I'm saying it's extremely important. Okay? No one wants to change. Okay? I mean, you're doing something by today. If you've been asked to change, you don't like to change. So what we do is we build the motivating factors. We try to understand the barriers, and as I do for the global level transformation, I'll give you a number which will be astounding. I was part of a big team that transformed 6 billion cost base, which is around 5,50,000 rupees in a year as a cost base. From there, took out 300 million, which is roughly, you can take it around 2,700 crores of rupees in a year. Okay, that's the level of transmission the global scale will do. Okay, during the process, a lot of conflict management happens. Okay, and we have the technique to know how to manage those conflicts. Now, coming back with that background, let me share with you. If we ask anyone outside of in the mainland India, what do you think of Northeast? And you all use this word beautiful. They have traveled to Northeast, right? They'll talk so many good things. Did you ever hear this word? It was a luxurious experience. You will never have heard. The luxurious experience that is created through investment and the development. And since that wasn't there, therefore, you will never hear this word called luxurious, but they will talk about the beautiful part, they will relate with the Scotland of East and so forth in terms of the beauty, but never in terms of the other part of it. Okay? Now, you will go through the news things and all those and hear about it. A leader goes to Northeast, be it from defense, be it from the politicians or whatever it is. Typically, the word they use is the people are simple. Right? We hear this. Then they are highly cultural, traditional. Okay? That's the mindset. Did they ever use the word that they are intelligent? Right. The reason is, if you have to be developed, there has to be the knowledge base. And that knowledge is translated to the development. Okay? And we lack this, and that is why we said about this time, some time back, that we need this intellectual discourse, because we need to translate from the books to the knowledge and then to the development. And that is why we need this. Now let's go back and look at a couple of slides that I prepared for you. Let's go to the next slide. Yeah. Here. India, I'm very proud of being an Indian. Every day I talk to my counterparts in Europe and US. Starts around 2 o'clock when their morning starts. They join the office. I have seen them 25 years back. I see them now. They talk to us with a lot of respect. Earlier, I used to be commanded by them. Today, I have my team, then my team. Okay, I tell them what to do. So it's a flip. We are 4th largest economy in the world. We have crossed Japan actually. The thing is, that state that we are now, our story started from 1980s onwards. And that is important. I want to make you feel of this. We have our beloved prime ministers. Let's take at the point of 1980s. What had happened, Mrs. Indira Gandhi? She took one decision, which is of connecting India with Doordarshan, right? And that changed us, significantly. Many of you have in the period, you have seen the TVs coming in and so forth, right? Then we had Rajiv Gandhi, and he took 2 big decisions. First one, let me share with you, was purchasing Airbus. Indian Airlines or Air India, that time used a different technology, manual computer. And sir, if you remember, fly-by-wire. Okay, so many people resisted to that. He said, "No, I am going to buy Airbus." Okay, and we got Airbus. That was around 1986 or 87. The second decision we took was railway computerization. Okay, we used to go stand there and all this. We have seen this, right? And that was a big decision. And I'm sure, please count the numbers. Okay. Then we had Narasimha Rao, huge decision of liberalization. Demolishing or abolishing all the license Raj. So that is a decision that he took and took it forward. We had Meitei Heritage, and he took Digital India. Actually, that's where we started. National study was done in around 1996 or so forth, and then the whole, IT, transmission started, right? And then we had Manmohan Singh, and he had all these telecom revolutions and all that just started. But one factor over there, we are talking about the growth. There was our, he was a president, and he managed all the criminal crisis and so forth as a finance minister, right? And then we have our present prime minister. He took many decisions. Okay, what are the decisions he took? He took about infrastructure development, massive scale. Okay, then he took about the making India manufacturing. Okay, then he took about the digitalizations of many things and so forth, and then the defense area. Okay, if you look into all of this factor, in the previous prime minister, decisions were 1 or 2 big decisions, And today, there are multiple big decisions. Now, the number of decisions drive the size of the economy. Okay? Today, we became fourth largest economy because in the last 10 years, multiple decisions were taken. Okay? So you have to understand about the decision making. Now, let's compare where do we stand in the Seven Sisters. By land, we are 7.8%. It's not less. Okay? And I'll make a comparison later on. By population, 3.5%. But by economic size of GDP, okay, which is the monetary value of the production, okay, that is 2.6%. So by land, we are large in the share, by population, larger in the share, and by GDP, we are small. Okay? What does it mean? And someone said we should not complain and so forth, right? That is absolutely right. If we see that at par in terms of the population, if we had a share of 3.4% GDP, that means we are adding 3 lakhs crores to India. So my saying is this, that either not having invested in the right areas, or we have not done the right thing, we have an opportunity cost losing in terms of 3 lakh crores. Now what is the actual budget of the states? What we get? 25,000 crores, 30,000 crores, like that. See how much we are losing out. So that's the context. I just want to make that, share with you the decision-making process and what goes behind it. And if we are at the equal par, then what is the contribution that we make and what is the opportunity cost for us? Let's move to the next slide. Okay, here. The thinking about Northeast has started quite some time back. Okay, though it was late. If India started in 1980s, okay, and the development started, we got the benefit. This Air India decision, we got the benefit. Railway, we got the benefit. Every benefit we got, but it actually, since we didn't produce it, we didn't get income from there. Okay, we got the benefit of it. Now thinking about the Northeast started around 25 years back. 2003, I think this Ministry of this regional this one, the Northeast was formed. Right, when it was formed. 2008, when it started, that time there was a vision, like the Northeast vision was created. All the chief ministers, they were there, and the governors, they were there, and there was a chairman. And I went to the report, okay? And I put it over there, and you can look at it when I shared it. They identified that we were lagging behind by 30%. Okay? And we need to grow faster than India. India has already grown faster. Okay? So the problem was known, but did we identify the right kind of a solution, the levers to address that? Okay? In the last 10 years, huge amount of money has been spent. Okay? And you can see 3,000 plus projects were there, 34,000 crores plus, 10% of the government departments, right, ministries, their money is given to Northeast. Okay, be it for the strategic purpose, be it for the work purpose, right? And that resulted in increase in the per capita income. And our GSDP, it is 200 plus. Question is, by the vision, by the investment, first of all, are we self-reliant? Okay? Why? Is this growth that we have seen, how does it compare with others? Because the world is about, relative thing, it's a comparisons. Sometimes it is about hierarchy. Okay? Let us look more in detail. If we move to the next slide, Homer, please. Here, I have this per capita income right from 1951 till 2021. Across the lines, you will see that the Northeast is behind the rest of India. In the last decade, we were at the level of around 50%. Okay, that's the difference. Meaning, if someone had born in 1947 or 1951, he would have spent, most likely, he would have spent most of his years, his life, below the average income of India. And that's what it is. If we look into why is this, look into the sectors, Seven Sisters Northeast and the rest of India, our focus in agriculture. It has been there. 50% of Northeast works in agriculture, they say like this, right? All our investment happening there, handicrafts, and some tourism. Whereas rest of India, the focus in the pharma, world leader, IT sector is, it's driving. We are one of the best in the world, and the manufacturing is the core GDP. Agriculture was there earlier, okay? When the green revolution had happened, and now we have the food, and we don't need it, okay? We don't have a place to keep our agricultural products now, okay? And we have to get the MSP actually for that. So if you look into it, we have been investing in the areas where there we bring in people. Poor people will start early, but does it relate to higher productivity? What is the scope of technology and automation there? When we invest, okay, the products can be sold here and there. If we get a good price, higher price of being like handloom and premium products, right? In that case, we are benefited, but we don't get the price. Okay. Therefore, the areas that we are selecting cannot drive the growth. The areas that we need to select requires innovation, requires technology, requires knowledge. That's why I'm coming back again. Why knowledge is important. Okay? That is why if anyone had said over there that we have been simple and all, yes, he is right. Because he has seen other people, the knowledge, and we do not have that knowledge. Right? Let's go again to the next slide. Now, where are the problems? Here, when I selected, I asked this, which are the states in India close to Northeast total? Okay, Northeast is a population of around 5 million, okay, and land area of around 255,000 square kilometers. Which are the states close to us? And we find Karnataka, Tamil Nadu, and Andhra Pradesh. Okay, they are close to us. So that means the first one we had a good benchmark states. And look into the numbers, their GSDP is far better than us, but what I want to show you is we know that they are developed than us. States own revenue. Our average states own revenue, we are actually getting 20% of it. 80% of it, we are dependent on the central funds. Whereas others, they are actually having at least 3/4 of their revenue requirement on their own. There is a fundamental difference. Why? Because when we invest, we have looked into the wrong sectors that where the productivity cannot be driven. Okay, we need to look into the sectors where we can have a higher productivity per employee. Secondly, we have a very high cost of governance. Okay, and see salary and pension. We are 84. This is 84,000 crores. They are 66, 111 like those. But is it a problem for us having a 84,000 crores? Actually, it is not. Average size of a telecom company, BSNL is 15,000 employees, right? 20,000 employees is the average size of a telecom company. Average size of a bank is around 40,000 employees. That means if we have 5 lakh government employees, okay, take out 10% of it, you train them, you can actually create a very, very good public sector company. So we need to understand what are the opportunities, what we have and so forth. Yes, we have a structural problem, we have a systematic problem. Right? Come on, can you move to the next slide? Now, what I did was, I took this year by year, starting from 2000 till 2024, look at the per capita income for the rest of India and the Northeast. And I forecasted using a mathematical model up to 2040, which is 15 years forecast. What we see is, as I tightly model it, with and this is a technical one, there is a relation that happens, and I expect to 98% plus, the rest of India is going to be over the crossing the benchmark of the prosperity. World Bank in 2024, they did a methodology and identified that $1,935 is the benchmark, beyond which you get to attain the level of prosperity, okay? Which translates to 12 lakhs plus per capita income.
If the government had said that India will be prosperous by 2047, they would have definitely done some maths behind it. Okay, there's logic behind it. And the way the drivers they have selected, that all the technology, manufacturing, defense, financial services, etc., they are like to achieve. Where are we? We'll make progress. We'll get the grants and all of those things, but we will not achieve it. So, we all need to think together. Okay? Think about how can we increase it and how can we beat the rest of India. Because see, India as a population is 150 crores, let's take it, and we are just 5 crores. Okay? For us, it is better to control it. And we have population density which is lesser than the rest of India. Flip it around, population density means that we have more land per individual than the rest of India. So we have got the resources. What we do is get the engine for it, right? And the next slide. Now, if you want to do this, then we need to drive transformations. Now, transformation in multiple areas. The economic transformation. I talk about economic transformation. We will talk about the social transformation. I'll give an example, a small example. We talk about Northeast should be 1 hour, 1.5 hours ahead of India. Okay? Because we're losing out on the sunlight. But tell me, if every program that we made, we actually said they're going to come late. If we waste our time, okay, and try to make our time ahead of India, we're not going to get benefit of it. So there has to be a societal change. Okay? This is just an example. There has to be political transformation. Okay? Some people might like it, some people might not like it. We have to move from the electoral politics to somewhat developmental politics. Okay? Where our visions are set. We now know, if I just a small guy sharing these numbers, we start seeing the numbers, what we want to do. We should be talking, we should be listening on not what should be achieved, what will be given to you. We should be listening to how are we going to deliver it. It's how, where the debate will happen, not what. Today we know what. Tell us the strategy, tell us your procedures, tell us your approach. How are you going to make this transformation? How are you going to drive this? How are you going to manage the conflict so that it doesn't happen? Right? I will give you an example and with the future. There is a discussion, there is a policy about palm oil. Okay? Someone in the year talked about Northeast doesn't eat this food and all the food habits. Okay? We don't use too much of oil. We use boiled food. Then why do we use palm oil? And how will you do it? Fine, the economic development over there. There are NGOs who are going to fight against it. So in that case, that money which has been budgeted out to make an investment over there will be delayed. Income will be delayed. That money is locked somewhere else. Okay, cannot be used here. So we lose out. So therefore, we need to think about collectively that is that going to really benefit us or not? We talk about rare art. Let's go inside the rare art and try to understand what is it over there, right? I will get to those topics. Okay, my basic background is metallurgical engineering, so I know those things that I don't get into it. Then the environmental transformation, it is extremely important. Like why it is, because we are looking into many of these developments, bills are being cut and everything. It should be done in such a way that we are bringing the technologies of the mainland India, and that is not applicable in the Northeast, but we are bringing it. Right? I'm just giving an example. So we need to take into consideration all of those. And the last is technological transfer. It is absolutely necessary for us, unless we don't bring in the right investment in the technologies, in the IT sectors and so forth, we cannot make it. Can you move to the next slide? This is just an example of how to drive transformation. Okay? Here, if I want to drive a transformation of the healthcare system, it has got so many elements into it. It is just not about building few hospitals. We will think about giving free hospitality, free medical care. In that case, it has to be something that can generate revenue, money, as well as give away, right? And integrated multi-sectors like hospitality or hospital healthcare plus tourism. Okay? That one brings in, one gives away. So we have a kind of zero budgeting system like those, right? And it has to be
with a private-public people participations. Okay, Northeast, knowing that we have various communities over there, it is important. Now, let's take this case. Why this idea of Northeast? If I take this for the state of Manipur or Tripura, over a period of 5 years or so, when we want to implement, probably it will cost us integrated with 10,000 crores. Let's take this now. Okay, it could be here and there for the simplicity. 7 states, 70,000 crores. If we combine all the 7 states together and create an integrated system and bring in 20% efficiency, that means we are taking out 14,000 crores. So what individual states can do, 10,000 taking to the 70,000, also borrowing, if we integrate it, get efficiency of 20%, we can save 14,000 crores that can be invested somewhere else, right? And that is why, fundamentally, from the financial point of view, from the operational point of view, having a Northeast idea makes sense, right? Let's go to the next slide. I guess this should be the second last. Now, we talk about conflict. Okay, and this I want to share with you the Manipur issue. And so you spoke about conflict as well as the values and the losses. If you look into this data, which starts from 2005 onwards, it was a pretty bad financial management initially. High debt to GSDP, meaning that we are borrowing lots of money and our revenue was very, very less. Okay? And because of FRBM and all of those things, it has been controlled. It has come down. You can see that the fiscal deficits were so high in 1 year, 1,000 crore plus fiscal deficits for a state. Okay? Couple of years actually contributed around 4,000 crores plus of fiscal deficits, which has been brought down. Many of these also to do with the digitizations and many things and all of those. But let's look into the one criteria which is state's own income, which is the last year. What we see the blue line here is the state's own income. Okay, it has been increasing from 2005 onwards. Initially, it was 4.9% of the revenue receipt. These are actual numbers. These are not the budget. Budget is like created and then what you get is actually less than that. It has increased before the conflict up to 11.8%. It is more than double over a period of almost 15 years. One conflict, okay, it has come down. It has come down from the previous year by 644 crores. If I forecast it for the future next 5 years through a model, what we see is it is a 940 crores loss in 1 year. And the conflict is going on for multiple years. We would have lost at least 3,000 crores plus. And the number that you see over there, state's own revenue in a year at that point of time was just around 2,000 crores. So we cannot afford to have any kind of a conflict. So that is something that we all must know. If we have any conflict, we don't know how to resolve the issues within ourselves. We are going to make, we are going to further going behind because the rest of India is very smart in choosing where to invest, how to work, what kind of knowledge they need to be created and so forth. We are making the petty issues and all those, and then we're losing our money, we'll be losing our more. Okay? That's the message I want to give. What's the loss? So we talk about conflict and all this today. I have quantified for you that how much is the loss. Okay, now you can take it. The last one, before I close, I just want to share the vision with you. Okay? The leaders come and talk about vision, vision. Let them quantify. First is, we need to be united politically. Well, I'm not one single part, I'm not talking about that one. Politically means that we should have a shared vision for the region. Okay? Our discourses, we would not like to hear what. We would like to hear how. That is important for us. The second one is we want to be prosperous. Nothing less. And by 2040, we should be at the level of prosperity 12 lakhs. Can you do it? That's the question that we are going to ask. And better we have more than the rest of India because we have more resources per human. The third one is we need to develop holistically. Let's do global benchmark, the sustainability and human development indexes. Okay, let's look into those. We need to have those focus, otherwise we can never be global. And the last one is a secure Northeast.
probably an integrated system to manage the law and order. We need to manage the drugs and the narcotics cultivations, poppy culture, everything. Okay, there are technologies involved over here. If the Indian defense can fire BrahMos through the windows of Pakistan air base, right, where there are like 5 feet, concrete walls are there through it. If that sort of an accuracy we have, we are not talking about a roof, or we are not talking about a 1 meter square, we are talking about a small hole. That's sort of accuracy. We can identify poppy cultivation, drug trafficking everywhere. The AI and cyber security is extremely important. I believe personally, because being an AI, right, the conflict in Manipur would not have happened the next year or the day after had there been a conflict, because we don't have the system. Okay, it is uncontrolled. India didn't have the system actually to that extent. Okay, world doesn't have that. So we need to have the AI and cyber security policies and the implementation. And lastly, there is a drone technology coming. It can come from everywhere. If government of India had talked about Sudarshan Chakra and we would have heard about it, we also need it. We shouldn't be left behind like the earlier years. And that's the message I want to give it to you. I have taken your time. Thanks so much.
Thank you very much, Rajiv. It was very enlightening for people like me from the social science background. So you have touched upon many issues, and this your talk reminds me of my time at the National Institute of Advanced Studies, Bangalore. So where there are lots of scientists and engineers were there. So that was very, and we talk about many things about, say, when you started in your talk, you talk about, say, in Delhi, people in Delhi or elsewhere see Northeast people as very simple, innocent, that kind of thing. And so then at the same time, say, people in India see the Japanese people. We never said that they are innocent or simple, but we say that they are intelligent, that kind of thing. So, and this is very, very important. And for that means the Northeast, the people in the Northeast, we have to prepare, we have to change, we have to innovate, because we have to compete. Because in India also, now some of the prosperous areas or the states are now, they are moving, like Tamil Nadu, Karnataka, Maharashtra, and Kerala, they are moving very fast pace in terms of various development indicators. And as Nazit has also said that me is also now, and you also mentioned about that we need to move from electoral and ethnic politics to developmental politics. So thank you very much. And now Noni has instructed me to call all the panelists on the floor. Please, sir. Just to conclude. Sir, please come. And so now it was a very interesting session. So this very brief session has touched upon various issues, challenges of the Northeastern states. So we need to continue to debate and discuss, this kind of issues, because these are the issues which we need to engage and discuss, every now and then. So thank you very much. With this, now this session is coming to an end. So, and I will hand over the rest of the program to. So please go ahead.
Thank you everyone. A couple of apologies. One, the audio, that online thing, it was major issue, so we don't have presentations from our presenters who were outside. Second, we were running really late, so our deep apologies for that. I think, I'll just quickly say thank you to all the participants, the speakers who have come over, and also, I think it was Ojanoni or somebody who, at the beginning of the session, proposed that let's not make this a one-off event, but let's take it forward. So if the people in the room, if Hazal sir, Chakma sir, if you're okay, the diaspora committee, we are willing to pull in resources, we are willing to work with people of the Northeast. We are happy to support it, be it website, maybe or whatever, online meeting, once a year, in-person meeting, etc. I think we should be able to do it, but I just wanted to seek your guidance, your endorsement. If that works, then we will be happy to take it forward. And everybody, just a raise of hand. We don't have to make it very formal, but if you are okay, we will try and support it.
That's good.
Thank you so much. One final apology. We did keep around 40-45 for interaction, but because we are really short on time, what we propose is we can have the food outside and have an.
I think why don't we think about a term that can bind this initiative?
Yeah, some name. Sir, our proposed whatever.
We initiated with this term, Northeast Solidarity Initiative. Can we keep this for some more time?
Yes.
I think we can open an email ID or maybe a website can also be something like that.
Yeah, that can be worked out.
Just give it.
We don't want to put a pressure and then give a name right now, but this is the running name. But if you feel that there is some better name that probably gets this idea, please do so. We'll share an email and we can create an email ID. So we will work on that, and we want to make this a continuous process. This will not be one process.
Maybe a WhatsApp group.
Yeah, WhatsApp group. That can be done now.
That's what we start talking about it.
I think with that we'll conclude, but we will have some slide snacks out there, and then we'll have an opportunity to interact with you. Because we're running short on time, we are not keeping that Q&A session. I'm really sorry for that. It's just that we just could not manage the time. But next time we'll take care of that. Thank you.
Yes, sir.
One is saying